So thank you, Nancy, for agreeing to join us. And I have the pleasure to welcome you here, actually. And then we will pass the mic for the questions. First, please introduce what you do. I mean, I would introduce you as a futurist, but then let us explain what is that and what is the main thing that you are in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're sitting up here. I unfortunately will be watching my phone a little bit because I'm supposed to be on a panel discussion that is at any moment right now, and the time keeps slipping around. So I am grateful to be here, but unfortunately it will be quick. But thank you all for making the time to be here, and thank you for being interested in the future and your contributions to it. My work is, I used to describe myself as a strategic futurist. Right, and I started the Femme Futurist Society, so if anyone's really interested in how women are, young ladies, if you guys are interested in how the future is forming, you can go listen to conversations with women all over the world that are building the future. So whether they're technically futurists or whether or not they're building the infrastructure for the future, there's an incredible collection of interviews that we're building around the world. And now I describe myself as an exponential strategist, although they don't care. Because I think that every decision we make now is impacting the future, right? It's not something that's out there, it's something that's right here, so.
I will start with one question I have. What is the role of women in the future we create today?
So anybody familiar with the concept of an imaginal cell? Is that a phrase that anyone's ever heard of before? If you Google it, you'll see videos about the imaginal cell. And it's this conversation about how a butterfly transitions, caterpillar transitions into a butterfly. And scientists now believe that the DNA for that transition has existed inside the caterpillar from day one, but there were very, very small cells. And they call them the imaginal cell, right? The cell that can imagine that it will be a butterfly. And what happens in the process is the imaginal cells start to grow, and at some point they start to overwhelm the caterpillar in its current form and eventually lead to the transition. And what they have also found is that the caterpillar cells resist it and push against that and say, no, 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 I want to keep it the way it is until there's enough imaginal cells to sort of swarm, right, and let it transition into a butterfly. I would argue that at this moment in technology, women are the imaginal cells. Right? We need to grow, and we need to continue to feel that we're finding each other and build more and more community around it and have more confidence in our contribution to it. But you're about to hear a conference for 3 days in which there probably will not be a woman that's doing a single on-stage solo talk. Right? A few of us will be on panels, but very few of us will give keynotes. I was the keynote speaker for a WCIT conference 3 years ago in Malaysia. They did invite me to give a talk this time, but they didn't want to pay for it. And so there's a part of me that was like, you know what, we also expect women to constantly show up and do it for free. I just asked for even the smallest stipend, and they couldn't pull it together. So I think that we're just in this place right now where we're trying to negotiate our space and our value. But I do think that we're really critical to the future, and I think that we will eventually design the future. Like, I think it will be in the gaze or in the frame of the feminine.
Thank you. I have more questions, but maybe someone else wants.
Thank you for the information, and it was interesting to hear. I have a question about your personal experience. How did you come to that point that you started your career in this field, and what makes you like to think about this? Thank you.
You know, I'm a really good strategist. I'm bad at many other things. I certainly can't code. I can't do many of the things that you all can do. But I'm really good at putting the pieces together. And as technology was coming in, you know, first with the internet and then with social media and, you know, continues on, I kept thinking that we were missing pieces of it, and so became more and more interested in helping people better prepare for a changing future. And so now I'm a big, huge advocate for the fact that we need to not only prepare for the future, but that the future is us and all the decisions that we make. And so what future do we want to be responsible for? So I've just been fortunate that extreme curiosity, really good strategic skills, and an investment in network. I really have built an amazing network and community around the world. I call them pinkers, people you need to know.
Okay.
And so developing your own collection of pinkers, I think, gives you the confidence then to go and stand on a stage like this, right? Because you don't feel like you're just doing it as one voice, you're doing it with this collective knowledge. And often people inside organizations feel very solo, but out here, we know that there's an amazing world of people, right, that we get to connect with and build with, and that gives us more confidence to do what we do. So I think it's just been more and more focused on building better and better strategies, right, from a bigger point of view. Thank you guys for coming up with one or two.
Thank you so much. And I would like to ask you about Armenia. And I don't know how much you've explored Armenia, but I want to ask what opportunities do you see for Armenia to become a hub for innovation? And how can Armenia position itself in the global landscape and in the region amidst these rapid technological advancements?
Yeah, I would just to add to the question, like any other small country like us, what should we do to kind of position well ourselves?
Yeah, you know, I think what's really interesting is because of the way that tech is advancing, small countries have just as much opportunity as large countries do, right? And what we're seeing is more innovation sometimes in smaller countries, or less investment in the infrastructure of the past, right? More of a willingness to jump to the future. I've spent time in Nairobi, and what you see there is an incredible hustle for the future, right? It's a small, under-resourced country that is very excited about what's happening, and the median age is very young there. And so I think, again, countries that have a younger age are definitely the ones that are jumping forward. I actually Googled earlier, your median age is not as young as I thought it was, but I'm wondering if it's just really, it's bifurcated, right? You've got an older population and then a really strong young population. So that young population, I think, is really critical to it. I'm fortunate that I have a 24-year-old son who fell in love with an Armenian-American girl for a while, and spent 2 summers here and fell in love literally with Lily in Lovers Park, and fell in love with the country. And so he was very eager for me to come here and to see it. And he was interested actually in the AR, VR, spatial computing community, and spent some time with some companies here. So I think it's interesting to see which technologies are catching more fire. But I think all around the world, you're seeing this conversation grow. And so I don't think it's specific to only large countries.
Can we get one more? Any other?
Any young person have a question?
Yeah, and I think
I want to know how optimistic the people in the room are about the future. So girls, when I say on a scale of like not at all optimistic, very optimistic, how optimistic are you about the future? Can you show me by your show of hands? Not at all optimistic, like think we're all in trouble, or very optimistic that we think we've got a good... All right, this is what we need, right, is a belief in the future. I think that's where it really starts. I always talk about that we deserve to be well held, right, by each other, the systems we design, the technologies that we advance, and the stories we tell ourselves about what is possible. And so I think it really starts with a positive view of the story. I'm very positive. I think it's going to be amazing.
Okay, yes, I have a question. What obstacles you have bumped into your journey, during your journey into STEM? What obstacles?
What obstacles in my journey into STEM? Well, first of all, I don't know that I'm very much a STEM person. So I spent time help building an AI company, and I have no tech background, right? But I think that what we're realizing is that Brene Brown, if you guys know Brene Brown, she recently spoke at a big event that I was part of, and she said, AI people need people. So what we think we need is not just people who understand technology, but people who understand people, right? And how we want that technology to be deployed. And I think the barriers to this are going further and further down, because the future is that we'll prompt an AI to create the code, right? Or to create the solution. We will not have to be as technically adept to be able to have an impact, but we will have to have a respect and understanding of what the tool can do. And so I think that that's shifting and changing. And I think that your generation has grown up with that as being a natural talent, versus my generation had to spend more time learning it. And so I think it's just breakthrough. It's just that my biggest fucking frustration is that there's not going to be a woman on the stage here talking about this, right? There's still a mindset that patterns everything. So the next book, I wrote one book. I got a note actually from a young woman in Zimbabwe last night that her sister had given her the book and found it very inspiring. So I think partly just educating and inspiring each other around the world. And then I want to write the next book about repatterning the future, and the repatterning will be through a feminine, more distributed, more living systems lens. And so our time will come.
Thank you so much.
Any other last one?
Yes, thank you so much. So did you have a role model during your teenage years who made a significant impact on you?
I unfortunately I've never had a mentor. But I have had amazing women that have come through my life. And so I remember when I was in college, there was a woman who came to speak to us, and she was supposed to be speaking about her economics career, because that was the major I was in at the time. But what I remember her saying is that she didn't start her actual career work until she had raised 5 children. And so she really sort of began her career at probably age 30 or maybe 35. And then she became the Secretary of Commerce for our United States. And so I thought, oh my God, I don't have to do it all by the time I'm 29, right? And that was a giant relief. I'm like, oh, I can pace this out. I just turned 60. I'm actually super proud of being 60. Like, I don't think it's all over, right? I think it's a super exciting time.
Much younger.
Well, thank you. But I think younger, I feel younger, but I actually think that 60 does look like this, right? We have a picture of 60 looking as old and frail, but 60 looks like this. Kamala Harris is 60, Melinda Gates is 60, right? Michelle Obama is 60. We've got amazing women that are doing this, so you have a much longer span than you think you do, and you can take time to do all the various parts of your life, as opposed to feeling you have to cram it all in or give up one part or the other. I'm a mother of 3 children. I'm super proud of that as well. I describe myself as a futurist mom because they've taught me a lot about being a futurist, and my futurist work has certainly informed the way I parent my children. I've got one that's a rocket scientist, one's a spatial engineer, and one that's a cognitive neuroscience major. So they've all been, curious about the future because of the world that they've been around. And so that was probably the most influential one. I remember Juanita Krebs, when she spoke, I'm like, wait,
Wow.
I can do this differently.